Good evening and welcome to Dog Talk. I'm Dan Camilleri.
And I'm Laura McKillop. We'd like to start by thanking Enduro for their ongoing support in bringing you our live weekly Q&A. Tonight we're fortunate enough to be speaking with Lee Mickan from Mickan's Working Dogs.
Lee will be picking who he thinks has asked the best question of the night, and they will win a bag of Enduro high-energy food for working dogs with Real Kangaroo Mate.
Hey Lee, how you going?
Yeah, good guys. How are you?
Good, thanks, mate. Had a nice cruisy day by the sound of things today.
Yeah, bit of a recovery day after a pretty heavy session yesterday on the handpiece, and I haven't done that for a while. So yeah, it was good. Just cruised around and looked after the daughter, did her school run and that sort of thing, and yeah, cruisy.
Where's home, Lee?
We're about 20 k's west of Loxton towards Swan Reach in South Australia now, mate. Yeah.
You've been there all your life, or moved around a bit?
Nah, I moved around a bit. I'm Pinaroo born and bred, and then married a Loxton girl and moved up here. Been nearly 18 years ago now, I suppose, and then we bought the place we're on now a bit over 12 months ago. So really enjoy it. We're at a 20 odd k's out of town now, 10 acres, enough room for the pack of mongrel dogs and a few trainer sheep. So we're grinning.
18 years, mate. Are you a local yet?
No. There's still a lot of people around this area I don't know. So all good.
Beautiful, mate. For people out there that might not know yourself, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, what you've done?
Yep. Good. Like I said, Pinaroo born and bred. I did all my schooling sort of between Pinaroo and Lameroo schools in South Australia, and said to mum and dad all the way through, I'm going to be a shearer when I get out of high school. So I finished high school, went shearing for 6 years, I think. Met my wife, married her. Then from left Pinaroo, moved up to Loxton, and then got into the feedlot game for the next 16 years. Was working full-time on mainly Westbrook feedlot, and then out at Wanby Park feedlot for a bit. And then earlier this year, we've sort of laid off all that full-time work now and doing a bit of contracting and, cruising along and having a good time. So.
Beautiful. And did you mention meeting the bride there? Was that work-related or away from work?
Oh, funny story. met her on a blind date through a shearing mate. And ever since, had our 19th wedding anniversary yesterday. So,
well, congratulations, mate. Is she blind or the date was blind?
The date was blind, yeah. The funny thing about it was the day the date happened, I drove from Pinaroo to Millicent, trialled my dog, ran second, then hooked in the ute. We drove all the way back to Berry to meet Kate on a blind date that night. So it wasn't a bad day, I suppose.
You said you came second though?
Yeah, I did. I ran second to Ian O'Connell actually that day with his old dog Bagala Jet in the novice down at Millicent. So
we had something to write about, right? A conversation starter.
Yeah, pretty much.
Even then, she knew you were pretty dedicated to your dogs, obviously.
Oh, we'd sort of been talking on the phone before that, and all I said to her when I first sort of started speaking was, I hope you like dogs. And she goes, yeah, we've got one here. I said, oh, it's only one, that's all right. So, it's all good.
And mate, obviously, like from having a bit of a yarn then, like you've had a long term shearing in feedlots. Have you ever thought about doing anything away from the livestock industry?
Nah, mate, I love it. Like I said, I've always wanted to work with, or predominantly sheep. Done some goat work as well, and touched on cattle work a little bit, but not a lot. But just even from a young age, just wanted to work in the livestock industry. So yeah.
What is it that you love?
Oh, I just love being outside, mate, and especially working with the dogs. You know, it's one of those jobs where I can take me best mates to work every day. So it's good fun.
And day to day with your dogs, what was it looking like, when you're in the feedlot?
It was full on. It was nothing when I sort of finished up at Westbrook's here. I was organising 10 to 12 B-double loads a week of lambs going out, plus dealing with lambs coming back in and drenching and inoculating that to go back into the feedlot. So it was full on. Yeah, it was. It really was. It was 5 days a week and often 12-hour day, or at least 5 days a week and often 12-hour days. So, I sort of, when I started there, I had 3 dogs and quickly worked out real fast I'm going to need a lot bigger team or they're going to wear out. So yeah, but that's really what kicked me off into getting into the numbers of dogs I've got now. So.
And were you living on farm, mate?
No, we had a place in at Loxton that we bought ourselves. So it was only 20k drive from home out to work each day. So at least I could get away from it at night, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the reason I asked you, you said 5 days, but it's not really a 5 day a week job, is it?
No, it's 5 days
a week job, nearly.
Yeah, 5 days a week was the minimum. Like it was because we were rostered on for weekends, and then if things didn't go to plan, if the lambs weren't quite heavy enough and whatever you were trying to find, well then sometimes it'd cut into your weekends too, and yeah, it'd be nothing to weigh lambs 7 days a week at times to get enough of the contracts to fill. So
I think sometimes people overlook just how intense feedlotting, and especially in a large operation, is. It's a high energy workplace.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when I was at Westbrooks there, when I sort of finished up with them, we had 65,000 lambs on hand. So
holy shit.
So we were going hard. The dogs were going hard, and I'd take 8 dogs to work every day, work them in pairs, and just keep rotating them. And that's all you could do. And you'd bring them home dog tired every night. You'd dish out their bickies, and sometimes in the morning you go to get them out the kennel to go to work again, and they've only just started eating their tucker because they've been asleep all night. So, but yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, and you're all right.
That's all right. You go.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, with 65,000 lambs, where were they going?
Predominantly export weights, mate. Yeah. Yep. A lot of them are going through the JBS system, especially at Bordertown because it's not that far from Loxton. It's only a couple of hours, 2.5 hour trip. But yeah, we've been known to send them up to Wagga, down into Victoria, anywhere where they, we could get them in pretty much. So, but yeah, it's high turnover. Like I've always said, feedlotting's a numbers game, and we had 65,000 lambs on hand, but we were turning over 150,000 plus lambs a year. So she was pretty full on.
Just unreal.
Yeah, well, I wear out myself.
Numbers.
So how many dogs were you sort of running then?
I had a team of 8 that I could take to work and get the job done with. But yeah, and they ranged from, the one thing I did like about the feedlotting game, I could take a 7 or 8 month old pup that I had a left and a right and a stop on and drop him in the back of the force pen of the scales. And you know what I mean? And he would be doing what comes at you, bringing sheep to me, weighing lambs. But yet you could teach them so much on the job while you're there because you could teach them to stop and wait for a gate. And they were getting their sides by casting around the next pen and pulling up. Do you know what I mean? Teach them to back there. You can do a lot of training on the run with a young pup. And I've had a few of them now. And our main dog at the moment, Kelvale Gus, at 8 months old, there was nothing he couldn't do at the feedlot already. So he was just one of them real fast learning pups and very confident and just gone ahead from there. So.
And for the people out there that don't know a lot about feedlotting, like you mentioned weighing lambs there, that's a constant thing. You guys are doing there near every day, right?
Yep, every day. And I mean, we still had contracts to fill in January when it was 40 degrees. You were there at 4:30 in the morning. As soon as you could see, you're into it. So.
And you're running in increments of 4 to 5 kilos and 3 to 4 weigh drafts, I'm assuming?
Pretty much, mate. Yeah, we had a 6-way auto drafter. Yeah, sort of 5 kilo increment split. So, yeah.
A lot of work there for young dogs, mate.
Plenty.
And you were shearing prior to that. I'm assuming you had your dogs when you were shearing as well?
Yeah, I had a few when I was shearing. I had my first dog, old Shadow. He was a black and tan Kelpie I picked up off a mate down in Pinaroo there. I used to cart him shearing with me everywhere. He was a handy enough dog. I won my first trials with him, but he also, he was one of them dogs you could take shearing with you, and you walk into a shed and you chuck his hessian bag in the corner and tell him to sit in the corner, and he'd sit there till he'd hear sheep howl and he'd be waiting at the catch and pen gates. Didn't care who was opening the gates, he'd just go and do the job. So that's the sort of dog he was, and I got him, and then I got another one, then another one, and next thing I had 2 or 3 I was cutting with me. So.
And how did that team change when you went to the feedlot?
Oh, it was all right. When I got to the feedlot, I had sort of 3 dogs at the time, which was Shadow, old Tanamai Clyde, and then Barkell Sasha. And And they were pretty handy dogs in yards and that sort of thing from shearing sheds. And yeah, when I first started with Westbrooks, it wasn't as big as it was when I left. Like they were sort of 30,000 a head on farm then. So the pressure wasn't on quite as much. But back then when we started there was none of these bloody, pro-way sheep bulk handlers and that sort of thing. All the drenching was done down a drench race, and that was hard slog on a dog. Yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, so I worked out fairly quickly that I'm going to need to get a few more. So we started building the team up from there.
And I think you said 16 years there?
15 at Westbrooks and then did one out at Wanby Park, yeah. Yep.
How did that team change over that 15, 16 years?
Oh, it grew dramatically. And the dogs that I had when I started there, a couple of them I wish I could have back. I really do. It's sort of, it's one of those things, I suppose. I always look for a good all-round dog that went towards the yards, because I'm not a big believer in having a team of dogs for the paddock and a team for the yards. It had often happened to me. I'd be flat out weighing lambs, and I'd get a message from the boss or a message from the boss's son, leave the sheep on the road. Well, it was no good going back to the kennels to go and change a dog over for one that could do that job. You just grabbed what you had and away you went. So, we've always looked for that all-round type dog, even though we were doing predominantly yard work. But, in the feedlotting game too, you got to have a dog with half smarts, because when you're bringing desensitised feedlot lambs out of a pen that aren't scared of anything anymore, they've got to be able to read their stock and cover and hold, especially, but apply forward pressure at the same time to hold them at the gate until the silly buggers would actually have a look and walk out. So, but that's sort of why it went. So.
Absolutely. So, mate, I'm just scouring for a question there, because you mentioned about having an old dog back, and someone actually asked that question in the last night or two, and I'm trying to find out who asked the question so I don't steal it from them.
David Wittenbury, I reckon.
I think it was.
It may have been. Where is it? I will find it, and we will put credit to who asked that question. But who is that dog that you wish you had back, mate?
Oh, look, I had that after that come up the other night. I've had a chat with Kate about it, and honestly, there's sort of, I've still got this particular dog, but through injury, it's done him in for work. Do you know what I mean? And he's only a 7-year-old dog, but if I could have Hogan's Toby back before his injury, I would. He's probably the best dog we've ever had, but he's still alive with us, and we cherish the old fella, but he just does a bit of helping train pups and a little bit of yard trialing now, and that's all he's sort of capable of with the injuries he's had. I mentioned old Tanamai Clyde before, mate. If I could have him back, he's as good a true all-round sheepdog as I've ever had. So. Yeah,
and what was it about Toby? Like you went straight to Toby. You did not hesitate for a second.
Toby, like I said, I've still got him, but if I could get him back pre-spinal cord injury, I'd just love to have him back, mate. He's just one of those dogs that you can cast him into a paddock, and work him on bloody 1,000 ewes and lamb, foot in the paddock, and real nice, and say nothing, just sit on a wing and just watch him and appreciate what he did on his own, but yet take him back to the yards and as powerful back and bark as you'd ever want. Have actually backed him through a gateway in the paddock over 1,000 ewes to start the lead. Just that sort of dog, but biddable, do everything you ask of him, and just never seen him put a foot wrong. He really understands the pressure and relief bit, and I think that's what made him so good at his trialling. Because he'd go around, put enough pressure on, and when the sheep would start to go, he'd actually pull up and sit himself. You wouldn't have to tell him. He's just real smart dog, and unfortunately, he got cut fairly short in his career with bad injury. So, but that happens.
Sad story to tell, mate. At least you still have him.
Yeah, he's still here. He's still here. But the worst thing about it, like the spinal cord injury, was a spinal cord injury. It's a soft tissue injury. It's just one of those things. It's just time, So, but we got him back to work, and got him back to trialing, and he won. He went back to trialing and went back to winning again, and that was all good. But then he popped the cruciate ligament. Now he's done the second one, and it all stems from that injury. So, due to the spinal cord, he actually had no feeling in his right rear leg anymore, and so that was the first one that let go. And 14 months later, we got him fixed, and we got him over that, and he actually won the Darling River Championship in the yards at Wentworth last August. And that was his last open win, and he popped the second one about 2 weeks later. And yeah, since then, it is what it is, you know. But anyway, we still got him. So.
You still have him, and to give credit there, it was Dave Wittenberry that did that.
I knew it would be. All good.
So over the years, you know, coming from shearing to feedlot to contracting now, you obviously still like the same, maybe not style of dog isn't the right word, but has that changed from each time? Have you progressed to what you actually want in a dog?
Yeah, I have, because when I was at Westbrooks, like when I was shearing, you know, you look for yardy shed type dogs, you know, back bark, push, not afraid to be in there. You know, some of the sheds you're working in, especially when I was shearing down south, big mongrel first cross ewes that were just, you know, bits of buggers to dogs. So they had to be tough enough and stand up to it and show a bit. So when I got into the feedlotting game, yeah, those dogs I had were okay for that. They were still handy outside. Like Clyde was especially good in the paddock. And yeah, but it sort of has changed a bit, I suppose. And I've come into it and thinking about it now. But when I was at Westbrooks, I was still doing a bit of paddock work too, and even out at Wombi, still doing some paddock moves and that sort of thing as well. So we're still looking for that all-round dog that sort of, you know, was handy in the paddock, but nice and strong in the yards, I suppose. And now I'm in the contracting side of it. Still look for that type of dog. I haven't had any mustering jobs yet since I've sort of started on the contracting side of it. But had one young dog that I was able to get hold of about 18 months ago, due to being too full on for the owner that had him, that I was thinking about putting in the auction later in the year, but got him on some big crutch and trailer jobs and realised I can't let him go now. I sort of need him. So he's just one of them get up and go dogs and have a crack 300% from the word go and go all day. So, yeah.
And you mentioned earlier about, you know, taking a 7 or 8 month old pup to work when you're in the feedlots. And now that you have changed with your contracting for yourself, has that changed in the way you get those young dogs going?
Yeah, it has a bit, mate. I've sort of discovered that fairly quickly. Like when you're contracting, you know, your reputation's everything. So someone's employing you to do a job. So you're not going to roll up there with an 8 month old pup. You're trying to get going and only do half the job, if that makes sense. You're gonna take the dogs, you know, can do the job, and just try and get that bit more time into that pup at home. But the good thing about the feedlot, because I was full time there, I could drop those pups in there and I'd still have the dogs there with them that could get the job done, if that makes sense. But I was full time there, so it was Now I could be down at Dunkeld the other week on a crutch and trailer, and then back up at Tilapia Downs, you know, working for a different contractor, and you want to go there and put your best team forward and show you can do the job, and hope it leads to more work later on. You know what I mean? So you're not going to want to chuck a half-starter pup in there and have something go horribly wrong. So that's why I look at it.
So, and 100% agree with you there, mate. 100% totally understand what you're saying and back you up with that. Do you find now that you lean on the old faithfuls a bit more?
Yeah, I am a bit. I've got a couple of oldies there at the moment in old Warramurra Joker, the old collie dog, and then old Weekaroo Paddy the Wonder Dog. Yeah, the boys are now 8.5 and 9, and we're still taking them, and we just you know, they're there, and we know we can use them if we need to, but we just give them a run every other day, you know, for a run, just to rest the younger ones more than anything. But they still love it as much as the rest of them. Just trying to look after them as they're getting older. That's all.
And love that you're not racist, mate. Like you mentioned your collies there. You're actually wearing a black and white shirt at the moment too.
Yeah.
You've got a bit of a mixed camp there.
Yeah, I have at the moment. I've got as many black and whites in my camp as I've ever had. I've got 4 here at the moment. So plus the old crossbred dog in Paddy. So well, if we had the other crossbred, the wife's red Eela cross in there, she don't work, but so we're sort of not really a racist camp. No, I'm a big believer in good dogs, never a bad colour sort of thing. So yeah, and each to their own. There's good and bad in both breeds or all breeds. So yeah, just find the dogs that we like, that do the job we want, and sort of try and stick with them and stick to those type of lines. That's what we're doing. So
love it, mate. And do you find that like they both contribute differently to your team?
Yeah,
Or
it's
it's very similar across the breeds. Like your collies are fairly similar to your kelpies as well.
Yeah, well, Joker is, mate. I've had a few people tell me he's just a kelpie in a black and white suit, and he's actually not the best paddock dog I've got. The best paddock dog I've got is young Kelvale Gus or Toby before he's buggy, that are kelpies. So it's, Joker can get the job done, but he's always been one of these dogs that he's just in the paddock. He's actually a bit too pushy, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So for a dog that should be wide and off him and he's up there and going, can't move. So, but it's all good.
You keep mentioning we when you're talking about contracting. Does your family travel with you as well when you go away?
Not when I go away so much, but my young fella Jai, he's 18 now, and he was actually with me yesterday helping with these great monsters we were trying to get crushed down at Hydrix. So yeah, he does a little bit of work for me, and we can, well, we're definitely a team here at Mickan's Working Dogs. Like the family contributes quite a bit when I'm away because I'll take 6 dogs with me and someone's got to feed and look after the other 12 and run them when I'm not home. So it's a team game. So yeah.
I'm glad you highlighted that, Laura.
I kept picking up on it, and I thought, oh, there's something more there. So
no. I'm the one that does the travel, and the family just stays home and keeps the fires burning. If that makes sense.
You've got to know where to come back to, mate. Right? You need a warm room.
Oh, exactly, mate. Exactly.
You mentioned Jai.
Yeah.
Your first name, mate. How does that make you feel taking your young fellow to work with you?
Oh, I love it. No, he's good. It's good fun. He's funny. I sort of got him some work at Westbrooks on the weekends with me a few years ago when we were over there, and he's got a bit of natural flair for working stock. And I had an old dog at the time, Luca Diesel, and him and Jai grew up together and were great mates. And there was nothing Jai couldn't do with Diesel sort of thing. And I'd often say, "Oh, mate, can you go shed them sheep? Grab Diesel, go shed them sheep up for bloody shearing tomorrow. I just got to go down and put some grain in these bins down the feedlot. Expect them to come back and help him. I'll get back, job's done." Like it was,
yep.
But even though he's got a bit of a natural flair about it, mate, he really does not like working with sheep at all. He doesn't even call them sheep. He goes, "I hate that species, Dad. Lucky they taste good."
that was my next question. What him coming to work with you? Does he aspire to work with you, or does he want to do something else?
Oh, he's actually, this will make a few people laugh. He's right into boxing and fighting. He wants to actually be a professional fighter. And I've sort of said, well, look, mate, I've got not an issue with that because it's a good disciplined sport and everything else. So I said, but until you're going to start making enough money, the old man can retire, it's going to be a hobby and you'll have to get a job. So that's about how it goes. But he trains pretty hard with that 5 nights a week, and he's really aspiring to get into that game if he can. So, but he still likes his animals and the dogs and that, and yeah, good to have around. So it's all good.
And obviously he's got you for a bit of a role model there. But who inspired you with your dogs?
Oh, look, Peter Barr's old man, old Kelvin Twisty Bar, was the man that got me started. Like, the whole story started, and the reason why I got my first dog was, anyway, Dad and Grandpa used to run some big nasty bloody weathers out home down there at Pinaroo, and anyway, old Twisty Kelvin turned up there one day to truck these shippers out the end of the dock there, and anyway, because Dad and Grandpa's mongrel sheep were in for jumping out, but what was funny is because no sooner had they started and one jumped out, then 2 jumped out, and Dad and Grandpa are heading for the ute and the motorbike to go and get them back. And Twisty piped up and said, no, leave them there. I've got a secret weapon in the toolbox. And they sort of looked at him and went, yeah, right, that's not a gun, is it? So anyway, so finished loading the rest of the truck, and then Twisty went over to the box and let this old he wasn't old at that stage, a young black and tan dog out with a big white chest he had called Beloka Jr., and just cast him around these 2 weathers. And he went and picked them up, and all Twisty did was head from the truck back through the yards and open all the gates. And Junior brought those 2 sheep in the whole way around through the yards and put them on the truck. And so I got home that night, and that's all Dad could do was rave about this dog. And he said, if you're ever going to get one by Junior. Well, old Shadow, my first dog, was by Junior. He had to be our share farmer's old bitch Chook. And yeah, so I did. And that sort of started from there and started getting some help with Twisty to get him going. And yeah, just sort of fell in love with it and been going with it ever since. So yeah, it's good fun. Like, yeah, especially got to watch young Peter grow up while I was out there getting help and all the rest of it. And we're good mates too and spend a fair bit of time together with dogs as well. So it's good.
And he was a Kelpie dog, was he?
Oh, Shadow was, yeah, yep, big black and tan Kelpie, yeah, yep.
So then you had a bit of affiliation with Kelpies then. What? And you're very open-minded about your team. What happened there when you went, oh, I'll put add a collie in?
Good mate of mine, Joe Gerritsen, knew him through the shearing game, actually. Yeah, he saw old Shadow when I was shearing in the shed down south there when I was, crikey, I might have been in my very early 20s. And we were shearing on a raised board and Shadow was sitting in the corner and Joe was world class and he just come up to me and he goes, oh, he's a handy enough dog, mate. I said, yeah, he doesn't go too bad, mate. And had a bit of a chat and this and that and whatnot. And then anyway, I didn't see Joe for about 5 or 6 years. And then all of a sudden he's come out and having a bit of a crack at trialing and he's working this big black and white dog called Hank that he bred, Warramurra Hank. And I watched Hank work and I thought, geez, he's a pretty handy dog. He was a big dog. Tricolour, but mostly white, but black around his eyes and a few black patches on his body. But just had an awesome effect with his stock. He'd hop in a pen with sheep and the sheep would just want to get out of there. He was one of them dogs that was, he'd do minimal work for maximum effect. And if you're looking for dogs that are going to last all day, they're the sort of dogs you want, in my opinion. So anyway, cut a long story short, I liked old Hank and we found out that Hank throws the old white pup and Joe wasn't a big fan of him, so he'd give him away. And Kate got on to him. He goes, right, next time you get a pup by Hank that you don't want because it's too white, I'll have it. And Joe said, oh, yeah, right, no worries. Anyway, I get a phone call from Joe one night and he goes, look, I've got this litter here, Lee. He said, buy Hank out of old Wangula Isabel. I said, yeah. He said, I'll do your deal. I'll give you a nice black and white pup if I can get one of your red and tan ones out of Rosie from a mate of mine. I said, oh, okay, no worries. So anyway, so we did a pup swap and that's how the first collie come to be. And I got told from the start by Kate that as soon as he got home, he's not going anywhere, he's staying here. So it's lucky he's turned out all right.
It is lucky.
Yeah. So we've now got a nephew of his too from Joe, Jasper. He's about 8 or 9 months. He's going along all right. Got a bit more to do with him yet, but he's nearly ready to come to work. And then we picked a couple of pups up by old Joker the other week that have shown sheep and at 8 weeks and they kicked into gear and went to work straight away. So got a couple of exciting little black and white prospects here. We'll see how they go.
If that young fella's 9 months old and he's nearly ready to come to work, what's he doing?
Oh, he's balancing, stopping, coming off his stock. It's about really all I need to get somewhere. Like haven't actually shown him a drenching race yet because if I get on a crutch and trailer job, which I've got coming up in the next couple of weeks, I'll probably possibly drop him in the back so long as he'll stop when he's asked and take pressure off. He can do a bit, pretty much. So the way I look at it.
A question here from Hayley Wilson. She's asked, what have you found the best method for training your dogs?
The best method for training my dogs. Well, you got to start with a dog that likes you, obviously, that you want to spend time with, basically. If you've got a dog you don't like and it doesn't like you, you're not going to want to spend the time. So it's just work on typical, you get that pup you like and everything's going well, and then the best method for training, you just want to get the instinct out and then really just label actions they're already doing. Like it's not rocket science. We're not teaching them to do anything. They do it naturally. All we're doing is labeling an action. So it's the way I work with, sort of that command over instinct. It's the best way to go, I think, for working stock. So, yeah.
Good advice, mate. And you mentioned there that you got a litter there 8 weeks old at the moment?
A little bit older than that. Yeah, I don't actually own the mother. These are just a couple of pups I picked up for a service feed to the old fella. So, they're my 2 youngest pups I've got at the minute. They'll be coming up 12 weeks now. They've had a couple more looks since that first look, and I like the way they're going. So we'll see how they go.
And generally, what age do you like to start a pup?
Oh, I don't mind showing them sheep, mate, at that 7 or 8 weeks old. Just my trainers are pretty quiet. I will, if I've got a few little lambs on the ground, prefer to show them lambs because, small sheep, small dogs. But if I haven't, I'll often just get one of my quieter merino weathers out and usually drop him out on his own, so we move around a bit and let pups go and see what happens, pretty much. So, but yeah, don't mind showing them as little fellas, and give them that sort of couple of minutes, and if it clicks on and away they go, just that couple of minutes, and take them away and do it again in a week or fortnight's time until they're up in sort of 4 to 5 months, then start trying to balance them, I suppose. About like that.
And would you try normally to keep a couple out of a litter for yourself, or keep the whole litter, or?
Look, I sort of try not to end up with 35 dogs here. So I did breed a litter last year where we had 8, and I had orders for 4. So I did have 4 of them till recently. Now I'm down to 1 left, but had them all. The other 4 all started and looking the goods when they left. So just up and balancing nicely and half a stop on them, sort of thing, and sold them on a starter dogs at sort of 6 or 7 months old. So yeah.
Beautiful. And what's your ideal training setup?
Good question. It varies a bit. When I was in at Loxton North, I only had 20 portable panels, so I had a round yard set up on one end with a race down the middle and an odd shape force pen the other to encourage pups to push in the corners. But now that I've moved further out of town and got a bit more area, I've actually gone away from the round yard now and gone to a bigger square yard, but still with the race down the side and the force pen and another pin off the side from there. So I can sort of get the basics I need on my dogs from there. So yeah, it seems to be working so far anyway.
Beautiful. You mentioned you're on the wrong go.
That's what I was just going to say. With that race and pen off the side, so before you take your dog to work, what, other than, you stop and call off, what are you trying to get them to do in that race? Or are you just getting them to push them into the force, or?
I'll introduce a pup to the race at 4 to 5 months and ask, just tie them up short and tease them with the sheep and see if I can get some bark out of them. And then, let them go and see if they want to back. I've been pretty lucky for the last fair while now. Dogs we've been breeding are all fairly natural backing, because a lot of them go back to that Toby I was talking about before. And the first time I dropped Calvale Gus in there, he was right on 16 weeks, and I just dropped him in the back of the race, and the first thing he did was jump up and went straight to the front. So I went, he's going to back sheep. But do show them the situation and see what you can sort of do. It's always, you've got natural backing dogs. It doesn't take much to get a bit of side command on them and get them going where you want on top too. But yeah, I've got a couple of pups here at the moment that aren't as keen on it, so we're working a bit harder on getting them comfortable on the sheep and that as you do. So, but anyway, it is what it is.
Beautiful. You mentioned like getting a bit of bark on them there. You find you get bark on your kelpies more easier than your collies, or?
Very much so. Joker never barked until he was 4 years old. And only when he thinks he needs to, and it's usually when he's jammed hard in the corner and he can't bite something on the nose. I have made. I've got my kelpies generally. I found they're easier to get the bark, but Joker's starting to now as a 9-year-old bark when I ask him to, but it's taken a long 9 years.
It's just starting to break him in.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. Yeah, it'd be good to go when he's 15. We'll be right.
Speaking of, do you have an age limit that you like to see your pups at a particular standard by, and if they don't, you move them on? Or are you a bit more of a, you're willing to hold on to them for a bit more patient than I suppose myself?
Yeah, I'm probably more patient now, mate, than I used to be. I used to like to have a dog at work at 12 months and doing everything pretty much if I could. So, but I worked out I can generally pick the pups I know that are going to suit me from sort of 6 months on. Like if like I said, I'm trying to get all rounders here, but if I get one that leans more towards a paddock when I want them leaning more towards the yard, you know what I mean? I'll often find someone looking for a paddocky pup, move that one on. But yeah, I sort of probably a bit more patient. I've got four or five pups here at the moment, between 9 and 12 months old, and they're all only fairly lightly started because I've been travelling so much. So, but in the past, especially in the feedlot job, by 12 months, I generally have them at work. So, but yeah, it's all good.
There's a question here coming from John Starr, and it's sort of sort of touched on it, but we haven't really touched on it either. He's asking, now that you're contracting, if mustering was to become more called for, would you need to change anything in your team to what you've needed in the past, or have you got team members that would have it covered if you had full-time mustering as such?
Oh, I'll probably think I'd be able to cover it with what I've got there at the moment. Like I said, I've still got those 2 older dogs there. As I said, Joke is not the best paddock dog I've got, but he's still handy in the paddock. Old Paddy, the crossbred dog, he's a very good paddock dog. He'll cast as wide and as far as you like. Sometimes the point he loses touch with his stock, but I've got some other younger kelpies there that can get the job done. But it's, living where I live up here in the sort of Riverland and the Mallee area in South Australia, we've got pretty big paddocks, and you're not in that sort of situation where I've been working there south last week where it's 50-acre paddock. You can cast your dog around the boundary and pick the whole mob up. You know what I mean? Like there's hills and there's sand hills and there's everything else. So it's sort of a bit of one of those scenarios where you do use a vehicle and you go out and you find where the sheep are, and then of course you kick your dogs off and get the job going. But yeah, I reckon I've got enough dogs there that could comfortably do any mustering I needed done. So.
Do you think now that you are contracting, like your variation has kind of widened in your team?
Probably not so much yet, mate. I haven't sort of been doing it long enough for them to change too much from what I had in the feedlot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did discover the other day that I've got a couple of young dogs here that I did like, and the more I do with them, the more paddocky I realise they are. And I thought, well, they're probably not really going to suit the contracting so much, because I've got to find those other yardie types for these crutching trailer jobs. Like we down there the other week for 2 weeks, we put 28,000 sheep through a 4-stand crutching trailer, and so I need dogs that are going to just keep backing up day after day and hitting the yards hard to keep the boys up with sheep. So, but yeah, you still got to have those paddocky type covering whole dogs in the back of that pen too. But you just got to pick the teams you work together, I suppose, and work it from there. But probably at the moment looking for a couple more full-on types to help Arlo out. I have got another big Capri dog there, but I'll probably auction him at Lucindale. I think he's a bit one-dimensional for me. He's too yardy and there's not a lot of paddock work in him, so he's all right at the moment doing what I'm doing. But he's just, to me, he's not all-round enough dog for me to hang on to. So.
Yep.
And you mentioned some big numbers there again. You always like to take the big cookie, mate. Like always go for the bigger job. Away.
That's not my fault. That's Mitch Jubb's fault. He rang me up and goes, "Oh, mate, you want to come down and help us do this job?" I said, "Oh, yeah, when you've got to do 15,000 to do the first week, then have a week off and do another 12,000 after that." "Oh, yeah, okay, mate, no worries." So it's all good. It is what it is, mate. You just go and do the job, and it's good fun shifting a lot of sheep in a day. So
we touched on pups there a bit earlier. I think we had a question there. Mate, when you have got, like you mentioned, a litter of 8 and you had 4 orders, how do you go about picking a pup for you? You mentioned, like, when we had that question about picking a pup you like, but how do you pick a pup for yourself, like, besides liking it when they're still that tiny?
Yeah, it's just, I suppose I look for the bold one that wants to come to me and deal with me, I suppose. I'm a fairly big bloke and can be fairly loud at times, and so I look for that sort of, probably the more boisterous type pup that wants to get in your face and have a go. You know what I mean? Like it's just who I am. I've had a few pups in the past that blokes have sent them to me going, "Oh, I reckon they'll really suit you," but they were a little bit daunted by me as an imposing figure. So yeah, in the litter, mate, I'd look for that one that's going to be all over me and following me and bloody chewing the back of my leg and carrying on more so, I suppose. So, that's what I like, the little bold fellas. So.
The little destructive ones.
Yeah, pretty much. The ones that when the sheep stop, they start to go.
And talking about stopping and going, mate, someone that's done a lot of race work. Do you like to work the outside of a race, or do you dogs have to work on the inside of a race? What's your preference, and especially for longevity there as well, right?
Yeah, I've always worked them inside, mate. I've never let them outside. That's just me. I find I suppose I've found in the past a dog that's looking to get outside the race. So I guess I've sat there and going, "Well, you're not that tough, are you?" Do you know what I mean? Like you're looking for that sort of dog that can back it up day after day. yeah, you want them tough. So if I find a dog that wants to take the easy way out, yeah, probably. I'm not saying I'll get rid of them, but if that makes sense. But I've never actually tried to teach any of them to work outside the race. And as I said, as things progressed in the feedlot and we got the bulk sheep handlers and that sort of thing, well, that took a lot of pressure off them too. So
yeah,
as far as it goes, so, yeah.
You've been doing some training schools lately. How are you enjoying that?
Oh, she's just I enjoy helping people, I suppose, and yeah, we've just been posting a few up. I'll be running this little instinct and basics day, and that's gone bloody ballistic. I've got people coming from Adelaide and that just to try their backyard kelpie on sheep, and loving it. So it's just one of those things, and it is a really basic day to the point we just introduce the dog to stock, and if it shows it's got a bit of instinct, we try and get it to balance, and that's about how it goes. So.
Yeah, and hats off to you, mate, because obviously the atmosphere is a little bit different with people coming from town there to work their dogs compared to the workplace you're normally used to. How many surprises are you getting from dogs coming through?
Quite a few. You get all manner of things turn up, and you go, yeah, okay, and you ask them. I've seen some pretty handy little dogs that come out and are very natural with their work, and say, the owner, where'd you get that one from? And often they go, oh, yeah, no, I picked it up from the rescue or the pound, or, no background on the dog, but it's just a dog that's full of loaded with instinct and just wants to work. So we even got that excited the other day. One fella from Adelaide messaged me and goes, oh, I've got a Samoyed I want to try on sheep, Lee. I said, what? He said, I've got a Samoyed I want to try on sheep. They're a herding dog. I said, oh, okay, no worries. So anyway, he brought the big fella up, and initially we poked him in around the trainers, and he ran around and barked a bit, and then his nose sort of took over, and the testosterone level in him took over, and from there he just wanted to chase and hump everything. So it sort of it didn't go that well, but the owner got a good chuckle out of it, as did everyone else. So it was a bit of fun. But as I said to him when he left, I said, "Oh mate, you'll have to take him home and give him a bath and brush the prickles out of him now." So anyway, it was good fun. But,
you got to get a couple of those Finnish Laphunds in there as well, mate. I don't know if you're familiar with those. They're little Japanese reindeer dogs. And geez, they got some noise.
Yeah, well, I've got a friend over at Mildura that's got one that's also got a Kelpie that we had. So if Cara turns up here with that, I might be in real trouble. We'll see what happens.
How are you finding those like older dogs that haven't seen sheep, haven't had any sort of experience with it? How are you finding them switching on and then going through to start to train? In some ways, are you finding them harder, easier, or
yeah, basically, mate, I don't sort of find them any harder. Like, you just treat them like a pup, like you treat them like that little 8 or 10-week-old pup that's seeing sheep for the first time. You don't do anything different with them, just they've got legs on them and can keep up with the sheep if they decide to have a go. So it's not finding that any different. We did have a lady up here that had an old red Kelpie. She came to me with a few years ago now, called Chocolate, and he was 9 years old when we started him, and she actually yard trialled him before he passed away. So didn't yard trial him with any success, but she got enough on him that she could put him around a yard dog course, and she was wrapped. So yeah, and he was just one of those dogs that got picked up off the side of the road over near Iron Knob when he was a pup, and Sue ended up with him. So just, it's amazing what instinct you find in some of these dogs that are just kicking around. So.
How about it yourself, mate? Like, no disrespect to some of the people you're dealing with, like, and I've got experience with this myself, but sometimes it can be a little bit frustrating dealing with the different personalities. With personal growth in yourself, how have you, I suppose, matured, or how have you found it, like, for the personal growth in yourself? Like, what have you taken on board?
Oh, yeah, you just got to, I suppose I've always been pretty easy going anyway, and I find when things are going wrong for them or not working for them, I'll probably find that humour's the easiest way to keep them happy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make a joke with it, and they usually laugh about it. I've had a couple of ladies come to me with border collies at different times to try and get them to work, and both times they've been, not your traditional black and white type collie. One of them was a merle and one of them was a blue and white, and there's just no instinct there. So, and I've sat there and I said to Andrina, with the first one she bought me, he was a big honey and white dog, very good at obedience and agility, but just no instinct. And so anyway, it became a joke from there with Andrina that, oh, he's a very pretty dog. That's all I used to say, and she'd laugh her head off. And then she bought a Merle one this year to me to try, and he was the same. And I said, Andrina, he's still a very pretty dog. So, it's just a good fun joke. And she said, no, that's all good, Lee. I just wanted to bring him over and see if he had any instincts. But I suppose, those days we have are pretty relaxed and everyone's pretty chilled, and we just, chuck the barbie on with a few sausages and everyone's happy. And I've been finding that most of the dogs we've been getting to those days so far, a good 95% of them, we get to the point where they're showing some form of instinct by the end of the day, even if they hadn't been seen sheep before until that morning. So it's always a good start. But
did you find? Sorry, mate, I cut you off short there.
No, you're right. I was just trying to think of something, but I couldn't remember what I was going to say.
You got the same problem as me. Do you find sometimes like those particular dogs get you digging deeper into your toolbox, and you bring out things that you kind of been told about or you thought about but you haven't tried before, and you try them and you're like, holy shit, that works?
Yeah, you do. Had a little pup at our last actual school we had. The owner had a 11-month-old dog off of me as well, but we were trying to get his pup showing some instinct, and she's about 12 weeks and not showing anything. And in the end, I said, we'll try her on one sheep, and that still didn't work. And anyway, I bought these couple of mad Damaras that run like hell, but after one tried to kill me and line me up at the fence, I thought that's probably not a good idea either. But it does really get you thinking, like running those training days and not so much the basics days when we do at schools. Someone will come in and go, well, I've got this problem. How can we fix it? And then if you go, well, we've got to try and set up a situation to make it come out and work out what we can do to fix it. But yeah, you're right. It makes you really dig deep and think hard at times as to go, well, what can we do to, sort that problem out? So, but yeah, no, it really does.
Have you had to fix a tug toy to a sheep yet and get it to run the tug toy?
No, never been that excited, mate. I haven't tried throwing tennis balls around the sheep for the dog to fetch either.
It's only a matter of time, my friend.
Yeah, it could happen. Trust me.
You have some experience with that, but is it Daniel?
Yeah, there's been a couple. And then once they think, hey, wait a minute, that sheep made that ball run, or that, wait a minute, the sheep moves, the tug toy moves, the sheep moves, wait a second, and they start to correlate, and they realise, hey, mate, your tug toy's made of sheep anyway. It's like, wait,
yeah.
Those kind of it's pretty good feeling too. Like, it's on that. Like, some of these people you get in, I'm assuming some of them like haven't really been around livestock themselves.
No.
And then you see you help them when their dog switches on. How much self-satisfaction are you getting off the grins and the smiles off your clients?
Well, heaps, mate, heaps. And that's what it is. And all of them, it's like I said, you get these little dogs out of the backyard in Adelaide or down the Barossa there, and they travel 3 hours up to here just to try them on sheep. And when they poke them in here, like initially we try to keep everything fairly under control because we don't want anyone getting hurt. And that's why I only use my good quiet trainers to start with, and often ask them to walk them in there on the lead, because you know what it's like, sheep running, a dog tries to tear its buddy owner's shoulder out of its socket, and then you go, yep, you've got instinct. We'll give it a go off the lead on the next lap around. And the grins they get on their faces when they see that dog. And I mean, my trainers are nice and quiet to the point that when we get them, get the instinct coming out, I'll get my good quiet trainers out that I know will follow a bit. Yeah. So, as soon as they see their dog circling sheep both ways around them, and, you give them an extension in their arm like the rake or a bit of poly to teach them to steer the dog a little bit, and, they all come roaring up. Oh, thanks, mate. That was awesome. I was hoping he'd be, he'd have some instinct and rah, and they just love it. Yeah. Get a lot of satisfaction out of it.
And you mentioned the Barossa there, mate. I hope they bring a couple of bottles of red with them as well.
Yeah, no, you can keep that stuff, mate. No, I'm a barley grape. Barley grape. Look at the grapes.
I'm with you on that one, Lee. I'm with you.
Mate, you mentioned there, and it was actually a really good point about, bringing out your running sheep, getting your instinct going and getting your trained sheep out. Mate, how do you go about getting your sides on your dogs and those particular dogs as well? Yeah,
well, on those instincts days, like basic days, we don't worry about putting any commands on them too much. It's just a matter of, body language. But, I basically putting a left and right on a pup, young dog, once I get them balancing nicely, or just start asking them to go that way and chucking the command at them to go that way. You're just putting that command on over there on the top of the instinct, basically.
Yeah.
So that's all I really do to get it coming out. And once I get what I call my go commands, which is my back and round, my left and rights to go fetch. Once we get from there and a bit more experience, we want to start putting driving commands on. Then we start dropping them in once we've got that good stop on the dog at 12 o'clock, and we start calling them back either side with those other commands. You just practice with it and, get you quite cheap out until you can have your dog running a full circle virtually around you on 4 different commands I use to get right around the clock so I can get my dogs off balance where I want. So, it's fun.
And you've left the training pen by this stage? Or are you still doing those with younger dogs inside the training pen?
Yeah, I don't train my dogs that I take to work very often. The other week I took my 6 I had into the Barma 3 sheep trial for a walk, just to remind them about what paddock work is, because we'd spent the week before punching sheep up the back of a crutching trailer. So, just to remind them they're allowed to get off their stock a bit and hold an arc and that sort of thing. But just fine tune a little bit like that, mate. But like getting those basic commands on, I'll try and get them on there in the training pen first, but especially the driving commands more so. But I mean, the driving commands really only come into it with me with work is if I can get them out in a paddock mustering somewhere.
Yeah.
So, big believer too. Like you're in the paddock in the vehicle, which you generally are with dogs, especially up in this country, and you're driving stock. I still like my dogs to pass behind me, and people go, "Oh, you only don't like your dogs crossing because you trial." It's got nothing to do with that. You can't run over a dog if he comes behind your wheels. It's as simple as that. You know what I mean? So those commands I use for my left and right pull commands, as I say, when I'm driving, I could be sitting in the middle of the mob if I like. You generally call a dog back from one side, give him his go command, get out the other, stop him there, and then give him the other command to pull him back and go command to go the other way. I still like them to pass behind the vehicle. So if I can get them to do it. So.
Who said there's no OH&S in contracting? Look at you go. Who said there's no OH&S in that? Look at it. You're like that's something that's never been highlighted on our show before about calling your dogs behind you so you're at less risk of running them over.
Yep. They're worth too much, mate, for them to go under the wheels.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I've only ever had one dog run over since I've been working, even in the feedlots, and that was by a co-worker, bloke that didn't understand sheep. I was not very happy. Trust me, I never mustered with him again. Told the boss when I got back I will not work with him in the paddock again. No worries, Lee. All good. So, yeah.
Good call, mate. And obviously, just on the back of that, away from work, how important are your dogs to you away from work? Are you spending plenty of time with them away, just hanging around the house?
Yeah, well, not so much because 18 of them in the house yard's too many at the moment. But day like today, well, trouble is with our new place we bought, I haven't got an actual yard around my house yet. So if I'm going to go and give all the dogs a run, I'll go and grab Gus or Joker out and go and put the training sheep in the training pen because they're just roaming the whole 10 acres. So that when I let the whole bunch of young'uns out, we don't have 18 dogs working 18 sheep sort of thing. So yeah, but on a day like today where I had nothing on, run the trainers in the yard this morning, give them all a big burn this morning, then again this afternoon, and spend some time with the pups and whatnot, playing around with them. So all good fun.
Do you try to spend a bit of bonding time with your dogs, mate? Like your younger dogs? You bring them through?
Yeah, absolutely. And at the moment, I'm getting those few pups I was saying about before, between 9 and 12 months old, I'm trying to take one of them a week with me to work when I go away. So you can spend that extra one-on-one time with it, you know what I mean? So especially when you got 5 or 6 of them here, they might get 15 minutes each here, but when they're away with me for a whole week, all of a sudden that recall and everything starts really clicking in. Yeah,
absolutely. That mateship is really there, right? And you mentioned Joker there, and you mentioned Joker earlier about the bark in the corner, but if you can't get a nose. Is Bite on Command a tool that you use fairly often?
Only when things are going real pear-shaped, but really. It's usually if things aren't flowing or if, it's got to have it but it's got to be a good constructive clean nose bite. None of that dirty grabbing stuff around the body because that just bruises stock and it's just no good to anyone. But I try to have a good nose bite on most of my dogs. for that reason, and they especially got to stand up for themselves and doing some work on the foot parent trailer earlier in the year on some 6 and 7 year old composite ewes. You can imagine what they're like to try and get to go up a race. So it's fairly constructive then that every time they turn around, there was a big black and white fella, give them a kiss on the lips, and they seem to turn the other way. So it was all good.
When you're looking at breeding a couple of pups there, mate, what are you normally looking for? What's normally in the back of your mind?
Oh, basically, mate, I just join dogs that I like that can do the job I want to do. Like it's pretty much like that. I don't chase any particular line. I've, like I said, got a bit of everything here, and we join dogs that we think might suit each other. We've got young Kelvo Arlo there. We gave him his first litter to our little Mickan Stilly last year, and that was the 8 pups we had, and we were really happy with the whole 8, the way they turned out. They all had plenty of nice work in them, plenty natural. So, so that's about the way I do it, mate. See a dog I like and got a bitch that I think will suit, and away we go. So.
And what about having an old favourite like Joker there? Like, would you put him over, or have you put him over Kelpie bitches?
No, I haven't crossbred him yet. Oh, that's a lie. That's a lie. We did have a crossbred litter by a Joker. He had my wife's Red Heeler Kelpie cross, which was very much an accident. And no, they went to pet homes, not to work. So, but yeah, I haven't yet, mate. But I don't think the Kelpie bitches I've had would have sort of complimented him or vice versa, if that makes sense. I've got good mates that use sons of his over Kelpie crosses, and they're turning out all right too. So, I don't have any issues with crossbreeding if you get the right dogs together and get the result you're looking for. So,
beautiful. And what is it about breeding that you enjoy, mate, and watching young pups come through?
It's just nice to be able to take a dog you bred to work and do a job with it, I think.
Bit of self-satisfaction.
Yeah, pretty much, mate. I mean, we don't breed a lot. We're about 1 litter a year at the most, because we don't need a heap of them. So it's that self-satisfaction of taking a dog that you put the parents together and it's turned out the way you wanted it to, and you can go and do a job with it and be happy with the job it's doing. So,
yeah. Actually, you mentioned just there before about you don't think you had any bitches that suited Joker. How special does a bitch have to be for yourself to want to breed from her?
Oh, especially when we're talking Joker, it's hard because basically to find a collie bitch that works similar to him to get the result you want. You know what I mean? Like he's been over a few bitches now and a few different bitches, and I had someone say to me one day, "Why have you not kept anything by Joker?" And I actually said, "Well, there's nothing wrong with them, but they're easy to sell." People would ring me up and go, "I want a short-haired collie lead that's going well." Yeah, no worries, I got one here, and you know what I mean. Like when we were living in sort of on the edge of town there, we didn't want to have too many spare dogs floating around. Didn't want them being a barking issue and that sort of thing. So we sort of limited our numbers, and at times you let pups go, you didn't want to because you had too many. You know what I mean? So simple as that. But yeah, as far as bitches. I've only got one bitch of breeding age at the moment, and we like her. She's one we bred herself, so we actually sold her as a pup and bought her back at 18 months, and she's going okay. So we gave her a litter and pretty happy with the result we got. So we'll keep mucking around and see what happens.
What would you like to see in your own line?
Oh, geez, I don't know. That's a big question.
That's what we're going.
Just everything I was talking about, mate. I suppose dogs that can do the job I want them to do. I guess. So there's nothing.
Is there anything you'd like? Okay, let me rephrase. Is there anything you'd like to add to your line?
I don't know. You give me a few days to think about that one. I'll get back to you. I'm pretty happy with what I've got at the moment, put it that way. So they're doing the job I need them to do. So
that's a good
question from Sabrina Lawrence. She's asked, do you find it different training bitches versus dogs? And is this the reason your team is dog dominated?
Sabrina's a friend of ours. I was saying about Joker's crossbred litter. She's got one of the progeny and it actually does work sheep. We've had that one on sheep. So, yeah, look, Sabrina, it's one of those things. Years ago, I found when I was at Westbrooks, I actually had a fairly dominant team of bitches where I had 4 bitches and 2 males. And then guess what? You put one in pup and the rest come on season and you left the 2 dogs to carry 6 or 8 dog workload. So I promptly turned that around fairly smartly. Moved a couple of the bitches on and added a few more dogs. And just mainly for that reason, it's just that, yeah, when you had a full-on bitch team, if you know what they're like, you got a few in the camp, they all bring each other on season and you certainly don't want the mongrel trucky dogs getting to them while they're at work, so you leave them home. Like, it's just the way it goes. So, but yeah, as far as training goes, I don't believe there's any real difference in bitches and dogs. Every dog's different, and I've had bitches. Some of the bitches I've had in the past are harder and tougher than some of the dogs I've had. So it is what it is. Yeah.
What about having a male-dominated team? Like, does them like pissed on everything give you the shits at all? Or I had this conversation with someone today that actually wants to start swapping up their team to more bitches.
Kennels are far enough away from my house, mate. They're not over here, so it's all right. They get let out. There's plenty of mallee trees over there. But yeah, you're right. They are the dirty buggers around the place, and sometimes it annoys me. You know, like you'll be somewhere and you'll let a dog out because it's time to go again for the next run, pushing up, and the first thing your dog will do is go and piss on someone's toolbox, or you know what I mean. Like, it's just they are dirty mongrel farm dogs at times, and it used to irk me when I was shearing and the cocky's dog would walk past my toolbox in the shearing shed and pee on it. So, but yeah, but as far as bitches go, they are a lot cleaner. And yeah, if they're living close to the house, bitches are probably better that way, for sure. So.
We've mentioned a couple of times this evening already about selling pups. What advice would you give to someone that wanted to buy their first pup or going dog?
Basically, research the type of dog you want. If you've got a particular job you want to achieve with it, research the breeders that are breeding that type of dog. It's no good just grabbing one off the neighbour for $50 because it might be a good dog. Research the breeders that are breeding the type of dogs you want and go to them fellas, have a look at their dogs and see how you go from there, pretty much. Be the best bit of advice I could give to someone looking for their first dog, I reckon.
Love it.
Good advice, mate. Good advice. You've touched on trialling a couple of times, mate. How long have you been trialling?
Well, what was it? I was about 19 when I had the first go, so I've been getting close to 25 years now. So, yeah, been mucking around with it for a bit.
And just yard trialling and utility trialling, or some 3 sheep and cattle?
You know, we haven't done any cattle ones because my dogs actually, most of them haven't met a cow yet. So, but yeah, no, definitely did yard, been over to South Australia here for a start, and a couple of utilities early on. And then the sort of utilities disappeared from South Australia for a while, so I followed the yards up. But they started running the utility up at Melrose there, and Gary White came over and whooped us all. And I went, well, I've got to get better at outside obstacles. So I started going 3-sheeping as well now, and you actually find the 3-sheep trialling now is more of a challenge than yard trialling by a mile. So you've got to have that much more on your dogs to be successful with it. So yeah, it's probably made me get a few more bit of finesse more so on my dogs, I suppose, than I had. But I love nothing more than going to a yard trial and beating the Kelpies with my collie, and I love nothing better than going to a 3-sheep trial and beating the collies with my Kelpies. So it's fun.
Gary White, I don't think I've heard of that bloke before.
Mate, I've been telling him I'm going to get him one day at Melrose, and last year I got to within 1 point. So last year, he went all right at Queensland on the weekend. I see him on there. I said, mate, I'm going to have to do a bit of training to try and keep up, I think, in the next couple of weeks before we get to Melrose. So.
But as we got into that, and we mentioned about cows, you said my dogs haven't seen a cow yet.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and introduce them to cattle, mate. I've bred pups in the past that have gone on to cattle places and worked cattle, no worries. But when I was working for Westbrooks at the feedlot there, the only cattle we'd feedlot were our station cattle, and where their properties were up out of Timburra was wild dogs, so it was no good trying to put a dog in with them. The dog would end up killed and the cattle just get stirred up. So that was one of the policies when I started there. your dogs don't work the cattle. I said, that's fine. And I said, I've been told before that cattle only wreck good sheepdogs. And so, yeah, but that didn't stop old Joker one day. And I was trying to get some weather lambs in, and one of these red Santa cows from the station was in the same paddock, and she went after him. But anyway, he swung off for 4 times, and before I put him on the ute, chased her with the ute. So I thought, well, he'll work cattle if I let him. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, I've got young Peter. I've been chatting to him, Peter Barr, down at Pinaroo. He's got a few reasonably quiet young heifers down there, so I'm going to go down and introduce them to the cattle and see what they reckon. So that's my plan.
And do you think that might open up a couple of different avenues for you when it comes back to trialing?
Oh, it might do, mate. Yeah, if I can find a couple that are pretty happy to sort of have a go. I mean, I've done enough goat work with them, and I find they don't mind getting up the goats. So I figure cattle are just a bigger version of them, really. No, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I can't imagine there'll be any huge cattle trials running in South Australia in the next bit. So I'll have to probably look into state if I want to have a go at that somewhere. But I like the idea of the USD and the SSD and that sort of thing. I reckon they're a good concept. And yeah, I wouldn't mind having a crack at it. But there was no point in me entering the SSD at Melrose Mansfield this year due to the fact my dogs don't know what cows are. So that's probably why I'll introduce them to the cattle and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is it about trialing that gets you going?
Oh, I just love it, mate. It's you could be, especially when I was at the feed, like going hard all week and then just go away and catch up with mates and like-minded people, people that like to work stock with good dogs and just catching up with people. It's just like a bit of a family atmosphere over here. We're all pretty close to trialers in South Australia and all get on well, and it's usually a party when we get there. So it's always a bit of fun, mate. Yeah.
What makes a good trial then?
Oh, what makes a good trial? Let me see. I don't know. I just sit there and I say that a bad day of trialing is better than a good day's work. So it has to be a great trial for me to enjoy myself. But to go to a trial, you like a trial to be achievable for everyone if you can. But I also am a big believer in I like to work tough sheep in the trial because I believe tough sheep bring the best dogs to the top. So you want it to the point that it's achievable, but yet you want enough in your livestock to test the dogs their full potential, in my opinion. I suppose.
And are we talking like real pingy type of sheep or sheep that want to fight or?
Well, when it comes to yard trialing, I prefer them to run, and when it comes to 3 sheep, I prefer them to fight, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I had this conversation exactly the same today with someone here.
Yeah. Whereas all the 3 sheep is like them to run where the dog don't have to get close. I like the sheep that let the kelpies get close. So for that game. So but no, it's just and at the end of the day, like it really doesn't matter how the stock are. I just enjoy the trialing and the test of it. And the way I look at it, you can only deal with the sheep that come out the gate or off the back of that trailer, and you're a winner if you get them around the course and get the back gate shut, regardless of what the judge says, and you're happy the way your dog worked. That's my attitude towards it. So, yeah.
Great attitude to have, mate. And I suppose if you put in the time and effort and your dogs have got a good relationship, you're not very rarely going to come away disappointed if they're giving you 100% and you're not letting them down as well, right?
Yeah, exactly right, mate. Exactly. Yep.
But
So,
you're right, Laura.
There's a question here, and I don't know if it's a stitch up, but I think it could be a bit of a joke at the same time.
Yeah, you got me worried.
I think this person might know you, but if dogs can only understand one word, why do you talk to your dogs in sentences when yard trialing?
Because they're university students. Because I suppose I'm one of them fellas that when I'm under pressure and things aren't going right, I mumble or talk to myself anyway. So I may as well be having a conversation with my dog as I'm going around the course. And it would be someone that knows me that's seen me trial, because I often will, if something's going pear-shaped, I'll just go, oh, you're a clown or something like that as I'm going, you can't, it's no good getting angry and frustrated about it. You're not going to change the situation. So you just have a bit of a chuckle and call the dog something silly or a peanut or whatever and keep going. So, but it's all good fun.
Love the relationship that you're putting past here that you have with your dogs, mate. Like you said that tonight, like a lot of it seems to be light-humoured kind of a relationship you have with your dogs. Yep. Really, really love it.
Yeah, that's good fun. They're me, mate.
And at the end of the day, you're with them more than you're with your family, right? So they have to be mates.
Yep, exactly. So you're not going to take a mate away that you don't get on with, are you? So you're going to load up your best mates and go, "Come on, boys, road trip, let's go." So
Speaking of, how far are you prepared to travel for a trial?
For a trial, we've done the WA trip once. We're planning on doing it again next year. So yeah.
Actually, you're representing?
Will be next year. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think I'll be representing with Kelvale Gusty, and I think old Joker will get the other rep job for South Australia again on his way to 10-year-old. So I don't know how many more of them he's got left in him, but we'll see how he goes.
So our listeners out there that may not understand that, mate, do you just want to elaborate on that for us a little bit?
The two dogs I'll represent for South Australia next year over in Western Australia, the two highest placed South Australian dogs at our state championship back in March. Gus was runner-up to Josh Laddie from Victoria, and then Joker actually just missed the top 10 and finished about 11th, I think, or 11th or 12th. So yeah, they're the two highest placed dogs, and that's how we've been picking our state reps over here in SA for the last, I don't know how many years. So, but yeah, work it like that.
Love it. We often hear the debate: trial dogs don't make work dogs, and dogs don't make trial dogs. What are your thoughts? Clearly, you do both with yours, but
yeah, years ago I went to pick up a pup from an old mate, and I pulled up there and I let my dogs out. And he goes, "Oh, you got your trial dogs, your work dogs home?" I said, "Mate, that is my work dogs." Like it's just one of those things. Realistically, trialing is just an extension of real work, in my opinion. All you're doing is taking the dog and putting him in a situation to test him to his full potential. And 99% of the times you'll be doing the same thing with him on a daily basis at work, just you can move around and help him a little bit more. You know what I mean? So it's really, my main trial team is my main work team. And if they don't make the grade for the work team, they never hit the trial round. Simple as that. So work comes first, and trialing's a bonus on the weekend. So that's my thoughts on it.
Mate, I love the way you approach things. How do you approach nerves? Do you get any nerves?
Nah, it's all fun, mate. I'm just
I don't know how, but I knew that was going to be your answer.
I'm just going out there for fun, mate. I really am. And as I said, you can only deal with what comes out that gate or that trailer. And regardless of what the judge says, if you're happy with the way your best mates performed, you're going to be happy. So, yeah. So, yeah, it's just, to me, trialing's fun, regardless of what it is. So, yeah.
Is there a favourite trial, mate?
Melrose would be one of my favourites. Melrose Utility is always good fun up there because it's a mixed. It's the only utility we have in South Australia. Till recently, we hoping to get another one going down in Encounter Bay. We had one down there the other day. It was good fun. Probably yard trials, the Lucendale Fuel Dose trials. Always really enjoy that. It's always good, tough competition down there. We get plenty of border hoppers there, and it's where we generally hold our Australians in South Australia when they come down. So, yeah, it's always good. Good one down there too. So, yeah, but yeah, any trial is probably my favourite, really, because it means I'm at a trial, I suppose.
Yeah. Any advice to someone wanting to come into the working dog world?
Oh, let me see. Go in with an open mind. Don't limit yourself to one particular way of training or working, or open your mind. Be willing to learn from everyone. It's probably the best way you can approach it. I'm just a fella that likes helping people, but doesn't mean my way is going to necessarily suit someone or someone else or whatever. But you can learn something from everyone. And as we were saying before about digging into the toolbox to try and help people with dogs at their schools, and that, at times I learn stuff myself. You really do. And it's just the way it is. But don't limit yourself to one way or one method. Get to as many sort of working dog schools and that type of thing as you can, and learn something from everyone. So and build your own style from there. It's sort of the way I treated my shearing. I learned a bit off everyone and worked out what worked for me and went with it from there. And the working dog world's no different, really. So, but yeah.
You mentioned Twisty a bit earlier. What about when it came to trialing? Was there any people that you might have considered mentors, or you tried to shape a little bit of yourself?
Yeah, Twisty. He was a trial. Him, John Laddie helped me a lot, and Ricky Jones.
Yep.
Had a fair bit to do with Ricky years ago. Yeah, and he helped me a lot too. And yeah, still good mates with Rick. Don't see him often enough, but it was good to catch up at Mansfield back in March, April, whenever it was. But yeah, those sort of fellas, the fellas that were out there week in, week out and doing well, you aspired to be like them. So you got as much help off them as you could, and then you went out there and eventually you sort of caught up with them, and yeah, good fun. So,
Ricky rather chase the clay targets these days, mate.
Yeah, mate, I know that. That's all right.
Not too bad on the track either. What about have you got a most memorable moment or an achievement that you find more you hold high in regard?
It's pretty happy winning 5 South Australian State Yard titles, I suppose. But probably my main one I'd have at the moment happened Farmer Sheepdog trial last year when I went out there with Kelvale Gus and won the novice, the improver, and the open at the same trial, and then won the Trans-Tasman with old Paddy the Wonder Dog as well. Like, I was pretty happy with that for a bunch of yard dogs running around on a 3-sheep course. So yeah, I held that one pretty high. It's pretty good memory for me. So
congratulations, mate. That's pretty cool. Paddy the Wonder Dog, I loved it.
Well, I always called him Paddy the Wonder Dog because at times you wonder what the hell he's going to do next.
He's your crossbred fella, yeah?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. He was actually a representative dog for South Australia at Mansfield, but he's getting a bit slow now and doesn't like to back that much anymore. So now you think he's part Hunterway when he gets frustrated. He just drives his head down the side and starts barking, and that's about all you get out of him. So he's a good old dog to have in, good old work dog.
Is there anyone you'd like to see us sit down and have a chat with on Dog Talk?
Yeah, we had a bit of a chat about this. There's a few blokes come to mind. I've mentioned John Laddie before. He was always a good fellow to have in, very knowledgeable, good with dogs, good dogs too. And his son Josh, good fella too, the same. And then the other bloke I thought it would be Joe Gerritsen, where I got Joker from. I reckon he still runs a team of collies. He's been up in Queensland there the last few years, working on a goat property with them. So he'd probably be worth a look. So
beautiful, yeah. Thank you.
And super list, mate. Was there a question that stood out for you tonight? And that will win a bag of Enduro high-energy food for working dogs with Real Kangaroo, mate?
Oh, hell. Now I've got to remember what they were. Yeah, I know they were. What was the not Dave's question? Hey?
Scrubbed him. Not Dave's. He's gone.
No, not Dave's. Bugger him. No. That was a common question. I already knew that one was coming. The question about could I take the dogs I've got now out to do a mustering job? I reckon.
Rightio.
Yeah.
That was John's star, so we'll get his details and get that bag off to him.
No Congratulations, John. Bag of dog feed coming your way. And for being a guest tonight, Lee, there's also one coming your way, mate. Thanks very much for giving us your time.
Oh, good, mate. It's been fun.
Well, it's not over yet. You still got the hardest question of the night.
One last question. Would you rather fight one duck the size of a horse or 20 horses the size of ducks, and why?
I'd have a crack at the one duck the size of a horse because I reckon yesterday I fought 425 lambs. It felt like bloody 100 ducks, I suppose. So 100 kicking little horses, I suppose. So anyway, yeah, I reckon I'd have the one crack at it, be done with it, and have to keep lining up.
Awesome.
Get it over and done with, mate. That's the go.
That's it.
Mate, thank you very much for giving us your time tonight. We really appreciate it.
Yep, no worries.
And to everyone listening, actually, just before we sign off there, anyone that may be in the Sydney Hawkesbury Basin, City Yard Trials on this weekend. So 3 sheep start on Thursday, run till Sunday. Yards start on Saturday, Sunday. You come out there, you're going to see Laura's pretty face. A whole heap of the other helpers in the Hawkesbury. And hey, I might even make an appearance myself. No, we're always going to do that. But anyone's welcome to come out there and get involved, help out the yards, or even just have a squeeze of what we do out there. So please make yourself welcome and come say good day. pretty friendly. To everyone that's listening tonight, thank you very much. Everyone listening back, please remember we learn every day, and the day we stop learning will be a sad one for all of us.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.